244-896. So if you save that number, we have an automated responder that you can chat with. So if you just send hi to that number, it will ask you, hi, my name is, Sigei. We are doing this campaign, and it will ask you this particular question. And you can either use a voice note if you don't want to text a lot. You can use a voice note, submit your claims or your statements on how the education crisis has affected you. You can then, and it is a very efficient process that will enable you to submit. You can also type as much as you can on that particular responder, and you'll be able to get all this feedback. At the end of the day, we'll compile all feedback, and we'll be able to come and share and say, after this discussion on the education crisis, these are the emerging issues that we are seeing people experiencing. Yeah,
this is what we are seeing happening. Okay, now what would the solutions be to this city? I mean, so there, if you just think about what we're describing as a crisis. So we've just talked about crowding in schools, right? Lack of adequate facilities in schools, which now just entrenches inequality. And we've talked about this many times. Let's not even talk about funding. One of the things that is in the papers today is a fresh bid for free education. Karungo Adangwa, the senator for Kiambu, is saying all this money that we put in bursaries, just the CDF bursaries alone, comes to about 112 billion shillings, various bursaries. And then there's the governor's bursaries. There is the Ministry of Education bursary. There's a presidential bursary. If you just consolidate all this money that's coming from the same pot, it's all coming from the National Treasury, going to MPs, 290 of them, going to women reps, 47 of them, going to the ministry, going to governors, why not just put it all into one budget and say, we are sending money per child to schools, right?
Yes.
That looks at
your free education.
That looks at funding, and then you say, a majority of our children in Kenya are in day secondary schools, for instance, right? There's a government policy that there's free day secondary education. But the situation on the ground is clearly this is not free day secondary education if MPs are giving people bursaries to go and pay school fees in the free education. Clearly, there's a disconnect here. Right? So why not just put that money directly, instead of creating this big guy called an MP, put the money, go fund education.
You know, the thing is, the thinking and the thinkers who understand the education sector and those who know what ought to be done exist. And suggestions such as the one you've made have been made before.
Yes.
The thing that seems to be the constant drawback is the will. Because we have a growing population. It is clear that we may plan for it, but the implementation of those plans never see the light of day. And to understand it even better, you just need to look at the continued proliferation of private schools. Because people who understand business understand education is an excellent business. Why? It is the one thing a Kenyan parent will do anything for. They will buy, sell, steal. They will make sure that their children get educated. And it is understood. So the moment there's an institution that promises good education, they will take them there. Now, those who end up in public schools because they don't have an option or they can't afford to take their children to private schools. It's really not that complicated.
It's not even a discussion.
No, it's as simple as that. So because they understand this, they now have to, they leave their children to the indignity of what we're discussing here. You're 100 students in a class, you're 80. For heaven's sake, but those classes haven't moved.
Same size.
No, they were built for 40. So you tell me, when you get out, what do? Do you climb up on top of your desk and then walk on other desks before you can walk out? It gives the impression that that entire room is full, packed. When the government talks about providing for education, I assume that this huge budget that we keep talking of is supposed to also cater for infrastructure. Not this discussion of infrastructure where now, like you're talking about the CBC and you're saying we will do this. In the Uhuru government, we had the same stories. Magoha came up with chairs that were supposed desks. that story never ends. It's just that with every story, you never hear the end of it, meaning it's never completed. Until somebody else comes in and starts their own story, which is similar to the one you heard, which was not completed. And so you're wondering, money was allocated for that one. Where did that money go to? Because it wasn't. And had that money gone to where it was supposed to, this discussion would be different.
Yep.
When was the last time the government bothered to build new schools? When was the last time the government bothered to expand new schools? Because if we are looking, let's say, for instance, let's take an area like Mombasa Road. Let's call it Mombasa Road Secondary School and Primary School. And we are looking at the number of people who are there. When was the last time the government said, in 5 years' time, the numbers are going to be this. Let's cater for it. And since they have the space, let us build more classrooms. When? And how often do they even do it? Schools that seem to do well have an alumni. People who went to that school, if it's a really old school and it's a national school, they are the best advantage because the alumni have been there for a long time and many of them have the means. So these extra things that we talk about, either they have the might to push the government to do certain things for those schools, or they themselves will collectively get together and get things done. Now, surely, just what I've just described tells you that the education sector is in shambles.
It is. Yeah. And building just from that, I saw this case that was in the news just a few days ago of students, grade 6 students that were doing examinations, and apparently they did fake examinations. That contributes to it because then this means that particular school was not accredited to issue the examination, and they pretended to the parents that we are accredited, so we can issue these examinations, and that just shows how trust that the parents have in schooling is. And I think one of the key things that I also always say when it comes to discussions about education is that, education is an equalizer, and that's why parents have to do anything to actually get their kids to school, whether it's public schools, whether it's private schools. There are people who come from really, really low income families end up getting a lot just through education. So,
and I think that right there is why the system is getting away with murder.
Exactly.
Because people are so poor. Because people are so desperate. Because people just need to make sure, okay, let the shadows of my children darken the four walls of a school. That's all. If that happens, I'm okay. Now, because that desperation exists to the magnitude that it does, the system can do whatever the hell it wants. Because then you can say, okay, well,
they'll end up in school anyway.
See, they're in school. It's like the folks who say, let's have this meeting at 5:15. And then the guy rocks up at 5:56 and he says, but what does this number start with? It starts at 5. It's still 5. So why are we complaining? The same attitude. We're still, are they not in school? Did they sit in a desk?
Yes.
And was there not a teacher saying something? And then at the end of it all, in the middle of it, did they not do an exam?
Did they not do
midterm? Did they not get 3 days of a holiday? Then did we not come back and finish the term is over? Did those things happen? Then you say yes. They say, so what's the problem? The desperation at the levels at which it is what allows this nonsense that we are seeing to happen. And if you want to look at the flip side of it, they'll continue to, and because of a system that already is so poor in its infrastructure, and not just infrastructure brick and mortar, but so poor in its social infrastructure, that is why then people are so desperate. People are so poor and so desperate in a republic that certain things don't work. But at the same time, because of the fact that they don't have, you can now feed them the same poor services because of their state. That's
because they can take anything.
Because they'll take anything.
What should we do? Like you said, City, one of the greatest responsibilities that somebody feels that they've been given by deity, by God, by whoever higher being, is being a parent. And people, even animals, do anything to protect their children. Anything. They will fight, they will kill, they will do anything. Parents will do anything to make sure that their children are safe, that their children have at least a shot at the future. Parents will do anything, and that's what we see them doing. They will camp and sleep outside an MP's office overnight. They will go through some proper humiliation of being told, Panga line, nikupatie check your 1,000. They will do anything just at least to be able to take their children to school. And then now we are seeing this is the kind of product that we have. We have a system that is comfortably sitting back and watching as we get over 40,000 Ds in a Form 4 exam.
And it's okay.
And it's okay.
For God's sake.
We have a system where we can just say, how did these kids start doing an exam? Let's take these people to court. The owner of this school should go to court. And it's okay to say that there was no quality assurance at all prior to this. You've just discovered, this is offering KPSEA exams. No, it should not be. These are fake exam. It's okay. It's okay to say that our girls who are going to school can get pregnant in the course of school, but they must sit their exam. And the result that they get, that's their result. If you get a grade that is C, that will affect you throughout.
Your life.
Even if you go and you do what you breached, you'll come back and be told, you got a C in this. That's it. It's yours for life. You will not say, I got this C. That's the day that I had just delivered of my baby, and I brought my paper, and I was still confused. I was in a daze. I was in a maternity ward, and I was sitting this particular paper. You will not tell anybody that. But the system forced you to sit an exam.
Your D.
This is a system that says that because you come from a very rural place, that rural place does not deserve to get a lab. So you will learn chemistry. You will read that there's something called titration. You will read that there's something called a burette, a pipette,
You've
and
never
all
seen
those
it
things.
in your life.
You will see a diagram of it, but you will never touch it.
You will never touch it. Or may God help you if your school where your children have gone to, or you as a student, has been in an area that has been hit by floods. Not in 1963, in 2003.
2024.
You didn't sit an exam. You did not sit an exam because of 1, 2, 3. Then they tell you that in 2024 February, you will sit that exam. There is no announcement from the ministry. There is no information coming from the ministry as to which centers will hold these exams that are supposed to be resits for almost 10,000 students in 2024. You have not been told. It is up to you
to figure
out where this exam will be sat. And you couldn't sit it because your school doesn't exist anymore, literally. If you don't sit the exam, again, that stain forever remains on your record. If by some miracle you sat the exam and maybe you did something because of whatever and you got a poor grade, that stain remains on your record. Then, my goodness, some 10 years down the line, 15 years down the line, remember we're talking about a pillar in your life, education. If something goes amiss, then you walk into CT's office and you cannot hold a conversation, or you cannot make a presentation, or you cannot argue anything worth your salt. And CT will wonder, what has happened here? How many times do you connect what happens in the future with the pillar of a foundation that you have set in the past? That is what we are doing. We are not talking about just a situation where, we didn't have enough books. Okay, sir, we've printed books. Go. We didn't have classrooms. Okay, we've built classrooms. Go. What are you doing to the foundation of the millions of children who are walking through these classrooms every year? And if we are not asking that question, if we are not questioning value, if we are not questioning the accountability and responsibility that is placed on the shoulders of people who run these things, if we are not asking those questions, all these other things that we're doing, how
Absolute
much
nonsense.
Rubbish.
You know, when you teach geography, chemistry, and everything else, students get to understand that is something you need to pass an exam. But what else do they learn? When you cram all these young people into this small space, when they're supposed to have lunch and they're forced to eat some slop which has been served to them and they don't have much of an alternative, when they have to walk long distances, and when they get home, it's late. They live in houses with their parents, and they know whether it's two parents or a parent, they know the struggles the parents have. Now, this is the real education you're giving this child.
Yes.
So, as I like asking, what do you think you're setting in motion?
It's crazy. What should we do? I think, in my opinion, we should stop everything. Like I said, this is the one thing that all the parents of the very many millions of children who are in school, whether it's kindergarten, through junior school, through secondary school, through university, through tertiary education colleges, the one responsibility that we have is to make sure that our children are fine.
Yeah.
And if the children are not fine, what are we doing?
Why?
Stop everything and address this. We keep talking about it. You hear Belio keep saying, we are doing everything so we can have classrooms.
Every effort to ensure.
Magoha built classrooms, but in secondary school.
Yes.
All right.
Which we are not using them again.
Now, those secondary schools have some extra classrooms. Primary schools don't have classrooms. Belio Kipsang is building classrooms again with, what's the CS called?
Ogamba.
They're trying to build classrooms to accommodate the 8s into 9s. They will not be done.
The ones in secondary school will not be
will not be
utilized.
ready by January, for sure.
They will not
There
be ready.
will be schools that do not have that extra classroom.
Eric, there'll be many schools that don't have the extra classroom.
Yeah. But we want to pass like that. You know, we asked our MPs to also help us, because of CDF.
And
so
we
we've
tried.
also been asking MPs to, then MPs will say, but there was a delay in release of funds for CDF, then this and the other. Meanwhile, these kids who went to grade 7 and they did not learn for an entire term are going to grade 9 and they will not have a classroom. Same children.
Same children. The same children. These children are the ones who started off this CBC thing. They are the ones who started. We gave them that situation where they went to grade 7, no books, I don't know what, no teachers. One history teacher was teaching everything from morning till night. They did somehow stumble their way through class 7, stumble their way through grade 8. Now, they come to grade 9 and you're telling them, oh, hi. Just sit over here for a minute.
Yeah.
We are building the classrooms.
And as you're waiting, let's see if we can find a teacher.
Yeah. Then we're also printing books. So
Just wait.
And also you wait for bursary.
Just wait.
Stop everything.
and then you're okay.
So
I'm
that's,
okay.
I think that's Eric's solution. You stop everything, rethink everything. But
the fact that students went for that length of time without learning tells you we can actually stop.
Yes.
Okay.
Are they alive? Yes.
Yes.
Have they suffered? Yes.
But
Are they
let's be honest.
disadvantaged? Yes.
Let's be honest, in 2021, when children were at home for 9 months because of COVID, you want to tell me that they learned the full syllabus?
No, they did not.
They sat at home. Magoha told us that we want to take care of our children and make sure that they're healthy instead of putting them in school where they might get sick. So it is very possible to say, hold on, regroup this thing.
Let's rethink.
Anything worth doing is worth doing? Well, leave it alone.
Do it that way. Parliament should actually not be discussing anything else. Parliament should now be saying, okay, so where are we? Where are we? Can all 270 plus 47 plus 12, can all of us just go to the constituencies and inspect and make sure that these schools are ready, that these children are learning, that the quality assurance is actually happening, that the education directors are doing their job, that it's not, we can't get to a point where there'll be another year of another KPSEA or whatever exam is going to be sat and it'll be a fake school. We shouldn't. Anyway.
Yeah.
If people want to send their
Yes.
the what should we do again?
And just to add, parliamentarians should do this at the same speed.
At the same
That
speed
we've
as
seen
they
in the
did
last-
other things.
Yeah, they did other
One week,
things.
one day, we
Yeah.
can see 6 things being done.
They can even sit on a Friday.
Yeah.
At night.
All right. So for you, as I mentioned earlier, maybe just also to mention, there are a couple of topics that we got a lot of feedback from. So I don't know if there's something we just want to showcase on the screen, and this is basically the feedback that we got from everyone, and this is from Kenya's education sector. We're going to corruption and governance, access to healthcare, about SHA. That is a discussion that is particularly very important to people, social inequality and access to resources, youth employment, and finally public participation. So these are issues that we are going to discuss over the coming weeks, and for you to share your opinions, for you to answer the questions about solutions we need to do, especially in the education sector this week, go to all these social media channels, search for ZKE, share your views. Same thing, the WhatsApp number, as I mentioned earlier, for you to save, 0701 244 896. Share your views and we'll be able to have a discussion. Thank you.
This is a conversation by the people. Not it's just the people. Let the people speak. Thank you very much, Alan, for joining us.
Yeah.
Alan Chiboy is a data and tech expert at the ZKE campaign. He's been our guest. Thank you very much for tuning in to Kenya's biggest conversation, The Situation Room. It's 10 a.m. Have a lovely day. We'll be back tomorrow.